What is your expectation as to how this virus may be now moving through the community?
Well, my hope sincerely, morning Ash, my hope sincerely is that it amounts to nothing. So far, so good, and that is very good news. The next 48 hours will be crucial, though, if you're looking at incubation periods of the virus, 5 to 7 days. If we're negative again for all close contacts, at-risk people who have been to the places he's been to, today and tomorrow, I'd say we're out of the woods.
Okay, we'll be crossing our fingers for that, of course. The live news conference with Mark McGowan expected in a couple of hours, and Sky News will show our viewers that live and bringing the latest developments as they happen. Clay, authorities are saying the security guard in question didn't go inside a COVID patient's room or expose himself to the virus unnecessarily. So what do you think is the most likely explanation as to how he would have caught the virus?
Look, I think it's probably due to air recirculation within the hotel. And this leads us back to the absolute axiomatic point here, Ash, is that inner city hotels, shared hotels with people, other people, is not a great way to quarantine international arrivals. Our weak point always has been international arrivals and the chance of bringing the virus in. Even if you have a negative test before you get on the plane, you can still be incubating it. And so my feeling strongly is, and always has been, that we should not be using shared inner city hotels with poor air ventilation, with inadequate personal protective equipment, with people who are running second jobs. It is a recipe for disaster, and it's amazing that this hasn't happened before, and the government really need to get moving on this. We're so obsessed in Western Australia looking at state borders, but we should be cleaning up our act, not worrying about state borders, worrying about international borders and better quarantine facilities.
From a medical point of view, Clay, is the decision to engage in a snap lockdown a smart move at this point? If we do see further cases today, would you expect those restrictions will be extended beyond Friday?
Yes. Yeah, I think if we even see a couple or more cases, the government will go longer than 5 days. Was it a smart move to shut off to 2 million people, including all the Peel region, Greater Perth and the southwest? No, my personal opinion, is that was far too extensive, far too draconian. We could have done this more in a hotspot model, identified risk areas, told those people to go home, self-isolate and have a test and not come out of isolation until the test is negative. If the Premier's right and we do get more cases, well, good luck to him. I don't think we're going to see that. That's my hope anyway. And I think it's been an overreaction. Even if we do see a few cases, I think we still could have managed it with a hotspot model. But yes, I certainly fear for the people of Perth, us included, that we'll go longer than 5 days if we see more than 1 or 2 cases of COVID in contacts.
You have been a critic of McGowan's harsh border regime, I know. But how much credit, though, does that policy deserve in terms of keeping WA COVID-free up until this point? We've seen some comments from East Coast politicians suggesting that this latest outbreak shows that perhaps the borders weren't necessary in terms of keeping them locked off for so long.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think we've really looked at the state borders and really, for instance, let's just look back at 3 closures recently, Ash. Let's look at South Australia. We closed really for an extended family in Parafield, and we closed to the whole state for several weeks. Look at Victoria. We basically closed to a Thai restaurant in Blackrock with 7 or 8 cases. We closed there for several weeks. Queensland, we closed to the whole state for 1 case that was transmitted from wife to husband. You know, it's just such a blunt instrument, and we just need to do it a lot more scientifically. So while we're doing all this and obsessing about keeping well Australians out from Western Australia and us travelling to the eastern states and all the punitive effects that it has on businesses, mental health, the whole economy, we've taken our eye off the ball. We look inward to Australia, but we should be looking outward to what's happening from outside coming in and be meticulous with our international quarantine and not worry so much about borders. So we've just had this obsession about closed borders, snapping it shut, roll the door approach, which I think has been way, way over the top. And the government's been exposed. And even the most ardent Mark McGowan fan would have to say, we've stuffed this up, and it's lucky that it hasn't happened until now, but we need to make some big changes, not just tinker around the edges. And my feeling is really we should be looking at dedicated quarantine facilities a la the Howard Springs model in the Northern Territory, where we have a dedicated facility away from the metropolitan area with staff that are just dedicated to that area, that never have second jobs, with rigorous daily screening, and go with that model. And look, we need to do it as soon as possible because we're facing international quarantine for maybe another year or so. So there's still lots of time that we need to be doing this, and we need to move away from these shared city hotels.
Dr Golledge, just finally, what's your take on elected officials like the federal MP Craig Kelly casting some doubt over the safety of a vaccine? Should that be called out by leaders like the Prime Minister? What does that do in terms of undermining confidence in the rollout?
Look, it's heart-sink stuff for us. You know, we really need to rely on the vaccine to get us out of the hole. The vaccines will be the things that save us, that stop people getting sick, stop people going to hospital, allow international travel, trade, tourism. So we have to have confidence in the vaccines. There's been millions of doses worldwide. Look what's happening in Israel now. They've vaccinated half their population. The COVID rates are plummeting. They're seeing very, very few serious side effects at all, some minor ones. But look, we're getting lots and lots of good, robust data that the vaccines are very safe and very effective. We have to get people to believe in it. We need vaccination rates of 80% or more to get decent sort of herd immunity and stop people getting sick. So people have to believe, and the government has to be really strong in their messaging that vaccine is necessary and safe and effective.